you're not going to get high profit margins off of Guinness or Kilkenny. Guys, you got to leave that at the door. It was like a home for everybody. Yeah, rumour has it you're an IRA pub. And
meet Declan, the face behind one of Europe's oldest and most iconic Irish bars. Dealing with eviction scandals and connections to the IRA, Declan somehow managed to pull off one of the greatest comebacks in the industry. A comeback so great, even Hollywood superstars visit him. Declan isn't just running a bar, he's running a movement.
So, Beckett's is 30 years old.
Yeah, a lifetime.
Yeah? And how long have you been there?
30 years.
So you were there from pretty much the off?
I came out probably 6 months after Beckett's had opened in 94. I think it was July 94 it opened. And I was working in a pub back in Ireland that one of the owners of the previous Beckett's, I was working for him, and he had told me, hang on, one of the guys out there for sure would, get homesick, and lo and behold, one of them did, yearn to go home. So I was very lucky, got a 3-month contract to come out on the back of that. And I arrived here in 1995, first day, January 1st, freezing cold, snow on the ground, and I was thinking, oh my God, what have I got myself into? And I remember I arrived, got to the pub, fantastic looking pub. I was amazed by how the styling of it and everything. Met the crew. I knew most of them because I'd worked with them before in Ireland. And I think that day we went down, there was a tradition that every new person got, dinner or lunch down in OK Italia.
Okay.
Used to be down in the corner there at Newgatti. It was a favourite of everybody. And then, it just took off from there, 3 months led to 6 months to 30 years later.
Budapest has a habit of trapping people.
It does, yes. It gets hold of you and it doesn't let go. I don't know what it is, whether it's just the beauty of the place or just... It's a hard one to comprehend, but many people that I know have said the same thing. Hungary and Budapest just grabs hold of you and never lets go.
And back then, just sticking with that 30 years ago, Hungary was very different because, it was just after the wall fell and... Yeah,
when I come out, I thought, hey, people have been telling me porky pies, I thought there'd be queues for bread here and nothing in the shops. But when we got here, it's like somebody was definitely telling porky pies, they had the best transport system that I've ever seen. Everything was in the shops. Everybody seemed happy enough. And you this fantastic looking city with the most amazing architecture you could ever dream of.
Yeah.
In comparison to coming from Ireland, where we have the worst transport system in the world.
And where was the original bar?
The original bar was down on Alcotman, Boichi, Sharok corner. It was a fantastic big bar, 800 plus square meters. Lovely central bar, oak finish on everything. It was fantastically done. So there was no expense spared when the original guys put it in. A lot of memories, a lot of history in that place. There's been a lot of, marriage breakups and babies and God knows what have evolved out of that pub. I think if I wrote a book on that place, there'd be a hit put out in me.
Yeah,
the amount of...
speaking of hits a little bit, there was a connection to the IRA with that pub. There's a rumour going around.
There was a rumour in the past, going around that because a lot of the pubs around Europe were supposedly IRA fund houses. So we sort of got that reputation, but we lived off it for a while. It kept the vultures at bay here in Budapest, because at that time there was a very heavy, what would you call it?
Protection
racket going on, yeah. So each district was had its own crew of, be it Albanians, Russians, or whoever. Yeah. So yeah, it was a Hungarian told me that sort of knew a lot about the town. He said, yeah, rumour has it you're an IRA pub, and I said, okay, we'll stick with that. We'll go with that.
Keeps the brand in nick a little bit. Just on that, I know, you moved to the new location, which is fantastic, up on Lisference. I just want to talk about the closing night at Beckett's, because I've been here 13 years, and I think that's one of the most memorable nights I've had here. A lot of emotions and things like that. But what a wild party that was. Do you remember much of that?
I do, yeah. It was a fantastic night. The whole idea of that night was actually one, to thank the customers that had stuck by us for the 20 years that we were there. Two, to get rid of all the stock because we had to close the pub and get out. So we did a sort of, I think it was a half price party that night. But yeah, a lot of tears, a lot of emotions. Choked up a bit in the stage when I was giving my last speech to everybody and thanking them, and very difficult. I think very difficult for everybody because everybody was sort of just left wondering then, what do we do now? Mm-hmm. Because it was like a home for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody had a personal sort of connection with Beckett's, of somebody they've met there or something they've done there. There was always something. And everybody was just left in limbo. Okay, what now? Where do we drink now?
Yeah.
So it was a very emotional night. I remember we let everybody write in the walls, and the messages that were left were they really were beautiful messages from our Norwegian students, from locals, from Tesco management, Coca-Cola management, anybody that had frequented Beckett's put a message up there.
Yeah, and personally for me, I remember that there became then a competition between the Scandinavian customers who could write the highest on the wall.
That's
and
right.
I don't know how tall your walls were there, but then people were stood on stools on people's...
Yeah.
And then everybody... And I remember I think a ladder came in at one point, and like how tall were the ceilings there? Like 5 meters?
They were about 5 meters high.
So people are wasted, climbing on top of each other, and like girls in skirts climbing on to try and get to write the country name where they're from as high as possible. Yeah. And I'm like, this is going to end in disaster. And then 10 minutes later, I'm on top of someone's shoulders, on top of someone's shoulders. I was a lot smaller then. And yeah, it was
definitely emotional. It was very sad, having to close down the Beckett's after 20 years of business there, both for the customers and the staff and the management, and the owners of the original Beckett's. Yeah. It was nothing to do with the pub, why it had to close. It was an altercation between the local government and the leaseholder at the time, which wasn't us, it was a Hungarian individual. So, a lot of people think it was a battle between us and the local government. It wasn't. We were just unfortunately
in the middle,
piggy in the middle.
And when this will be good because the whole point of this podcast is to get real businesses and real owners in. When Beckett's closed, and there was obviously a gap at around a year or so, I think. What was Beckett's closes day one? You hand over the key, then what?
The day it all happened, I remember we were clearing out, and it was actually very good friends of mine and customers of Beckett's who were helping demolish the pub, basically take it piece by piece. And then all of a sudden the police arrived, and the lawyer of the local government, and several other people, and we were like, what the hell is going on? And she said, well, we thought you'd have a big protest here because you did the big party on Friday night. We thought you were trying to generate up a protest. And I was, trying to explain to her, no, that was just to get rid of the stock, on the night. Yeah. So they were very pushy in getting us out, which I thought was very unfortunate after 20 years of serving the public here. Day one, the reality sort of kicks in, and you're sort of scratching your head and saying, okay, what now? I was very lucky. I had a friend of mine, Raj, who gave me his warehouse that I could store all the bric-a-brac and chairs and furniture and stuff, fixtures and fittings in. I had one thing on my mind that, I'm not going to give up on this brand, that I'm going to find somewhere else and get it up and going again. All easy saying that, but then trying to get out there and find, proper investors and proper premises and stuff like that, it's a bit of a nightmare. So I went through a year of, I would say, personal pain and worry. trying different things. I went out and got a truck driver's license, thinking, maybe just
I need a
have that
fallback.
just in case, and then the thought of going truck driving and leaving my family and kids for 3 weeks on end didn't appeal to me. But all the while I kept scouring the city, searching different premises, and sort of rooting out different ideas of investors and stuff like that. And eventually I came upon a very old friend of mine who was already in the business in Budapest, in the bar business, and who I've known for 30 years. And he said, listen, why didn't you come to me?
Yeah.
And I says, well, my head just wasn't working at the time to think of that. And we came to an agreement and we said, let's do this. Let's set it up. And I think it was 2014, we closed February 6th and we reopened exactly 1 year later.
Yeah.
February 2015.
Yeah. Fun fact. I don't know if you remember this, but I actually had the first pint of Guinness in the new location.
That's right. That's right.
I'll put a picture up, and I don't have a beard.
I think that was.
I don't think you've ever seen me without a beard, but
I think that was on the famous regulars table 6.
yeah.
I remember it well.
Constantly reserved.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much of the new bar is the original?
90% of the new bar would be original old Beckett's fixtures and fittings.
Nice.
The only thing we sort of rebuilt in the new bar was that we put a full new bar in. But fixtures, fittings, decoration on the walls, everything like that, the bar lights, the bar mirrors, the big huge mirrors you see in back, they're all the originals.
Cool.
So it sort of gives that added flavour to it, and
Nostalgia.
memories
absolutely.
to the expat community, which is quite old here.
Yeah.
Most of them are still here 30 years on.
Yeah.
That would remember, things like that.
And it's mostly expats?
Was that your phone? Okay.
And your clientele is mostly expats, yeah?
No, we've quite a diverse crowd, which we're very lucky that we sort of diversified our clientele. So we've a good mixture of foreign students. We've dealt with the Norwegian students here in Budapest for 30 years in the old Beckett and the present one. And we have quite a good relationship with them. On top of that, then we have the Irish students, which are new to Budapest in the last probably 10 years. And then we mix that we have our soccer crowd, we have our rugby crowd, and then you have your local Hungarian crowd, who sort of, majority of the young Hungarians have gone to Ireland or gone to England and Britain and visited the pubs over there, and they come back and they want a bit of that when they come back, and they're chasing the culture and the beers and stuff that they tasted over there that we were providing here.
Is Hungary a pub culture kind of place, or is it?
I wouldn't say it's a pub culture. I find Hungarian pub culture very restrictive, because when you go into a bar or a restaurant here, it's table only. So they're not into the stand at the bar or seated at the bar and stuff like that. Whereas in a British or Irish pub, the whole idea is to meet people and socialize with people. And you're not going to do that sitting at a table. Right. You got to move around the pub.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, in Ireland, to go to the toilet, it takes 20 minutes because you're meeting 20 people on the way. Mm-hmm. Strangers, people you know, family, having a chit chat. And by the time you get back, it's 20 minutes later. Here in Hungary, when you say anything to anybody, they look at you with two heads. Why is he talking to me? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's actually across most of Europe. I think Britain and Ireland has this it's a home away from home feel. Even
I
from
think
the
it's
staffing,
quite unique to the British Isles that that's how we behave.
Yeah, I mean we had Levy on the first episode, and he started working in Irish and Scottish pubs, and he said he was very lucky because he's met people now who've worked at bars all their lives, cocktail bars and so on. He said they're so robotic, they don't talk to customers. Hey, how was your day? Or Chelsea lost last night, and they're giving the customer a hard time, and just having that relationship draws a customer back. But it's actually rewarding to him as a barman. as well. And I think that culture is lost in Europe.
Yeah, that takes a lot of training in the staff to get them to that level, because we do find that the Hungarians are very standoffish when it comes to customers in how to relate to them. And it could be just a, hi, how are you? How's your day going? You know, and all of a sudden you get a smile out of somebody that comes in depressed.
Yeah.
I always found that the Hungarians want to portray their problems onto customers coming in.
Okay.
And I'm always trying to tell them the customers are coming in with their problems to get into the pub, to get away from their problems, not to see your problems.
Yeah.
So all they want to see is a smile, a happy face, a little bit of banter, a little bit of chit chat. You don't have to stand there and tell them your life story or listen to his life story, but
Be interested.
just acknowledge him.
Yeah.
And that makes his day.
Again, to bring Levy back up, he said something similar. He said when he was training staff, he had to say that if you're having a bad day, you need to bottle that and still put on a show.
Yeah, you got to leave it at the door.
Yeah. And that's why he said it's one of the hardest jobs actually out there.
Some of the stories that, you know, Hungarians would come in and, you know, they'd be in tears or depressed, and you're like, what's wrong with? Oh, my cat died, and, you know, my dog's going to die on Sunday, and my grandmother's ill, you know, next week. And you're like, well, you know, the crazy stories to come in with, but you try to just, guys, you got to leave that at the door, please. You know, all I want you to do is smile.
Yeah. So would you
Smile
say,
and be happy.
Would you say that's the biggest issue with finding staff is personality, or?
Personality is one big part of it. This newer generation, the long hours, they're not used to them. They don't like working long hours. So out of, let's say, 50 to 100 people, you're lucky to find one gem. And then it's hanging on to that gem is the hard part.
Yeah. And there's a lot of turnover in this industry with staff moving to new places for a couple of extra euros a month. In some cases, we heard that as well from Levy. What would you say is the best way to entice staff to stay? Or do you just say, if you're going to go? Do you have the football manager approach?
I never beg staff to stay. I never, if somebody comes to me and says they're leaving, I just say, okay, thanks for everything. You know, you've been great. Good luck. Best of luck in the future. My way would be to treat the staff respectfully, treat them like family. I'm not a firm believer in hierarchy in businesses, like the manager, this assistant manager, the head barman, the head waitress. Everybody's there. We're like a motor, and once we all work together, the motor will run, great.
Yeah.
If one piece of it's not running, okay, we have a problem. So, yeah, it's difficult, but I think treating them nice and respectfully is one of the main things, especially the newer generation.
Yeah.
They're not used to being shouted at and stuff like that.
Yeah, and actually, I think you see that in a lot of restaurants now when, like, a waiter drops plates, the manager's giving them an even harder time. And I think you're in the industry, plates are going to get smashed. It's not nice, don't get me wrong, but...
Yeah, it's just a bit difficult at the moment, mixing old school with new school.
Yeah.
So old school were taught a different way, and a lot of that
Everyone's
was...
cheering when you drop
a lot of that
glass.
was in the voice, the boom voice. But the newer generation now will cry at anything. So you got to be, weary of how you're treating your staff and how you're sort of berating them in front of people.
Yeah. And so you've been around the block 30 years, basically, in the business. If you could go back and meet young Declan 30 years ago, what advice would you give him now to get to where you are? What would be the shortcut?
Well, my father's answer to that would be stay in school. But I think once you get the taste for bar work, and if you like it, it's something that it's a bit like Budapest, doesn't let you go. Mm-hmm. You love the social aspect of it, the camaraderie of it, meeting people. So you become a people person. Mm-hmm. You thrive off making people happy, because that's generally our job, is to make people happy when they walk through that door, make them comfortable, listen to their stories, give a bit of advice. We sort of call ourselves the unofficial priests of the world, because people will pour things out to you that they wouldn't tell anybody.
It's a cliche, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, what happens in the pub stays in the pub type thing. But
and it's cheaper than a psychiatrist.
Very
or a
much,
therapist.
very
Well, that
much, yeah.
depends, but,
Very
you know,
much.
What kind of single malt do you drink?
And this video is sponsored by. No. But yeah, it is a bit of a I mean, typically an Irish or an English bar is meant to be an escape from your job, your family, whatever it may be. You know, the football team just been hammered or whatever it is. I think that's why people watch football in bars.
Yeah, but you're constantly thinking of, okay, what way have I to talk to this guy? So you have to listen to what he's saying and then work that in your head. Okay, this is how I'm going to throw it back at him, because you don't want to upset him either, but you don't want to kiss his rear end either, you know, because he's going to cop onto that. So you are technically like being a psychiatrist in your head, rolling around, how do I answer this guy properly, professionally, that he's not going to go out and himself, or he's not going to go out and 10 people or something, you know. So you got to be careful what you say to people, but you got to learn how to read people. Yeah. It's all about reading them, that okay, he's mega depressed, or his wife just left him, or he's lost his job. So you got to read all them. People that are leaving Budapest that have to pack up their home and go home and they don't want to, you know, and you got to sort of relate to that and just be there for them.
Yeah. Just talking, I mean, how many, like what percentage of your customers are actual tourists? I mean, 5 million people come to Budapest every year. Would you say a lot of tourists visit Beckett's, or would you say it's still predominantly local?
I would say probably a 60-40 split now in favour of tourism. Tourism numbers have gone through the roof here in Budapest, and rightly so. I mean, Budapest is a gem on the Danube. We're just being found now by the world. You know, before us it was always Prague, Vienna, but now Budapest seems to be in flavour. And it's a fantastic 3-day sort of venue. So, you know, you don't need to come here for a week or 2 weeks. 3 days is perfect to get to see everything. And you'll probably enjoy it more in them 3 days of trying to cram everything in. You probably won't see everything because it's such a vast city, but you certainly will have a good time in 3 days.
Yeah. A shocking thing to me is actually one of your regulars, I won't mention by name, but he lives in Ireland and he comes here every single month. I'll tell you off camera. I think you know who I mean. He works in pharma and he comes here basically every single month because the shift works. He gets like 5 days off a month in a row, and he just flies out, stays in the same hotel, goes the same. So it's like
he was actually here this week.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that, it's so cheap now to get here. Yeah. In comparison to say, let's go out on a weekend bender in Britain or Ireland. Yeah. You could come out here and do the same thing, probably cheaper. Yeah. Get your flight, your hotel, and your weekend for the same money that you'd spend back home. So,
it's his argument. Exactly his argument. Yeah.
Again, it just grabs hold of people, and they just want to keep coming back.
And you're most people are finding you just by word of mouth, or just Google search.
Word of mouth. Word of mouth. Google, social media. Okay. But we pride ourselves on word of mouth. So
no ads.
We don't do advertising or anything like that. We pride ourselves on word of mouth, that customers come, have a great time, and spread the good word. And it seems to have worked for us that way.
Yeah, I mean, just circling back, because you talked about this Norwegian crowd you have, and I didn't understand how big the Norwegian quiz you run is. And it's the last place I'd have thought of, because there's a few Scandinavian bars kicking around the city now.
Yeah.
How did you pull that off? Where did you get the idea from?
I had a very good friend back in the day, a Norwegian guy by the name of Rune Brates. And Rune started bringing the Norwegian students there for originally, it was something called Stamtash. And basically it was a piss-up.
Okay.
A party for the Norwegian students to all get together. And it just developed from there. And every year they just keep replenishing, because the Norwegian students they have a very good setup where they have a student union called ANSA. And ANSA looks after the well-being of the students. So they create all these events for them. Okay. And we're one of the main events that has survived the 30 years. So we've been dealing with them for 30 years now. And I think in 2 weeks' time now we'll do their Christmas party. They do it every year in Beckett's, where they have I think it's a Christmas rice pudding, and then they sing carols and they have a mass on that day and everything. But it's wonderful to see how great they are together. They just love, like all of us when we go abroad, we're drawn to our own people.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah,
very
yeah.
similar. You
Yeah,
know,
they are, yeah.
they love being together, that we're all away from home, but isn't it great we can all get together and have a Norwegian night?
You just wouldn't think that Scandinavians would be in an Irish bar over a Scandinavian bar or something like that.
Well, I
But-
don't know.
but it works.
Could
It
be the
works.
Viking connection, you know.
Yeah, maybe a lot of
But
gingers.
they're Guinness drinkers, or
They'd be mainly lager drinkers, I think, the Norwegians, and probably the girls drink a lot of wine and shorts. But they know how to drink. I have a very good friend who also, keeps Beckett's in favour with the Norwegians. She's a pastor from Scandinavia, from Norway. Hilda, her name is. Hilda Herns, I think. Heinz or Herns. And when I met her first, I didn't know she was a pastor until she had told me, and I was like, wow, first female pastor I've ever met. But she's a wonderful person, and me and her we've sort of created a friendship together. Whenever she's over, she calls me, looks me up, takes the picture of us together, bangs it up onto the ANSA website, keep in touch, keep going to Beckett. So she keeps pushing in my way, and her job over here is to look after the well-being of the doctors and medical students that are here in Hungary.
No, I remember calling you in the new Beckett's when it first opened, and you hadn't been open that long at the new location, and Liverpool were playing. To Declan, I need a table, and you went, no. I said, Pete, I've never said no to you before, but you don't want to watch the game in here tonight anyway. And lo and behold, we walked past and it was rammed.
Yeah,
I've never seen it that. It was there were people falling out of windows and all sorts of stuff.
The new Beckett's is slightly smaller than the old one.
Yeah.
It's got a different character to the old one because now I find that it's more typical Irish pub.
For sure.
Because of the different sections and nooks and crannies that we have now. And it's a lot easier to fill it than the other one.
Yeah.
But I think it works very well for us, and there has been many nights now that we've been jammed.
Yeah,
especially when we get the visiting football teams coming in.
Yeah, comparing the two, I mean, the old Beckett's, when it was someone was playing on the music like John or Callum or someone like this, it was busy and it was perfect for that. But on a Tuesday night with a regular, it was so big. It was quite,
you struggled with the size.
Yeah, but
you're not going to fill it every night.
With the current one, you can just go in and you know it's going to feel like a pub.
Yes,
with 5 people.
Yeah.
So the sound is very, very, I think, a big player in this industry.
The atmosphere and the location is phenomenal. We've been very lucky with that.
Yeah, and the terrace
terrace is a godsend. If you don't have a terrace in summer in Budapest, you might as well give up.
Yeah,
it's a necessity.
Yeah, because in the old location you had a few chairs, but
we had a small terrace, but unfortunately you had a busy main road beside us. So, if you wanted carbon with your drinks, it was
wasn't
there.
the most user-friendly.
free of charge.
Yeah, but the new location, you got this beautiful terrace on one of the best spots in the city.
Yeah, I mean we couldn't have asked for a better location. I was very lucky that my partners in crime had the premises already.
Oh, okay.
So it was it was very easy. Very easy setup.
Turnkey solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a pub.
It was a restaurant before we took it over, and it was basically we did a 3-month renovation on it. Tearing out a few things and a bit of lick of paint, and got the bar put in. Then it was basically just add the fixtures and fittings, and away we went.
Mm-hmm. Coming back away from the good vibes, let's say. We've done a lot of research with AWol, the app, and things like this, and bars and restaurants 60% fail in their first year, like worldwide, Western worldwide, should I say? What do you think's the biggest reason for that, and one of the biggest frustrations specifically in the bar industry as an owner? Where do you
I
think people feel?
location plays one of the major parts in it. If you don't do your homework on the location, you're gonna struggle and probably end up being one of those statistics of bar closures. The other one would be the time you put into it. So a lot of people that set up businesses and think, well, I own a pub, but never go in and work the pub.
Yeah, because you're there quite frequently.
You
almost all day.
got to be there 24/7. You got to be in the heart. You got to be in the beat of it, and watch everything and entertain your customers and constantly come up with new ideas and regenerate all the time. A lot of pub owners that I've seen around the city don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of the problem here is the mentality of entrepreneurs that get into business and think, I have a bit of money, I'm going to open a pub, but then think that it should just run itself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
So it's like a constant reinvention.
You're constantly reinventing according to the times, yeah.
Yeah.
But also you're kind of the heart and soul of the pub in this case, right? I mean, you bring the authenticity.
Beckett and Declan, I think, are synonymous now. We go hand in hand, and my staff, of course, who have been with me quite a while. They're a major part of it. A pub that can hold on to their staff. I've one girl with me, my right-hand woman, Monica. She's with me over 20 years now. And most of the other girls that are working there are 5-6 years in. Mm. So that says a lot about the premises and the ownership and management of the pub, that they're doing something right, that, to hold on to your staff that length of time.
How big a staff do you have?
We've about 15 staff, yeah.
And you have an onboarding process for them to learn all the tricks and trades and how to pour Guinness and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they pick that up as they go along, pick the old Irish accent up from me. And some of the girls, their customers come in, they can't tell if they're Hungarian or Irish now,
It's tough.
It's fun.
It is. Actually, there was a girl working there. It turns out she was German. A while back, and no one. We were drinking there like 2 or 3 nights, and then it turns out, she was German. Like, what? Where did that come from?
I mean, the funny thing about my staff, which I find a very good reflection on either myself or the pub as a whole, is a lot of the expats who have been here a long time now. I'm now seeing their children coming to work in the pub.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've had 5. I think it's about 5. Expats' kids work through the pub. I've one presently at the moment there. Her father's Irish and mom's Hungarian. She's dad's from Galway, so she's working with me, Amelia. And you couldn't tell, if she's Irish or Hungarian. She has the wit of an Irish woman, that's for sure.
Handful.
And I think I had another one there. Malcolm Tussler's son.
Yeah,
he worked there, and then Gabriella, her daughter, worked there. So I see it as a good reflection on the pub, that they trust me, and the pub to look after their kids and sort of, raise them into the adult world.
Well, it keeps with that family vibe.
Yeah, I mean, trust is a very big thing when you're dealing with your children. You want to know that they're somewhere that they're not going to be abused or verbally abused day in, day out and stuff like that.
And it's a tough job.
It's a very tough job, and unfortunately, they have it harder because they can't really back out because their parents have sort of come to me and put them in there. Yeah. So, they have that added part to it.
And in terms of, what made you get in the pub? Do you have a family history of bars or?
No, I made the mistake of when I was younger, there was a local hotel.
Yeah, I got the same
story. A local
story.
hotel, and I just started as a lounge boy there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And that just led to, 35 years later, and I'm still there doing it.
But coincidentally, I know you're one of many children.
Yes, one of 12.
Yeah, and some of your brothers or siblings have pubs?
My brother has a pub in Switzerland, Zurich.
Uh-huh.
So he followed me into the trade.
Is that Irish as well?
Most of the other kids in the hotel that I started out in, the whole family, I think, have gone through it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So a lot of my sisters worked there. My younger brothers all worked there. But they all end up going doing their own things, and it was just me and.
Is the hotel called the O'Callaghan's?
No. The hotel actually is gone now. It's a terrible shame because, we had such good memories of that place.
But you just saw you were attracted to the community connection of this, and as in,
I love the people aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I love meeting people. I can relate to people. I love listening to the stories of people. Sure. I could sit and watch people all day. It's a very relaxing sort of hobby. People watching.
Well, yeah. I mean, from where you sit in the bar, I mean, no one's going to know that, but yeah, you can see everything. So
from the throne.
Yeah,
the Iron Throne.
So circling back, I mean, Beckett's just reopened. What was was it just simply you opened the door and it was rammed constantly, or did you have to rebuild at that point on the brand, or?
We were very lucky when we reopened because Beckett's was still heavily in people's minds that, oh wow, we're open again, we're up and going again. There's, we got our home back. So we quickly generated our hardcore expat clientele came back to us, as well as the Norwegians, and then just over time, you didn't really have to do much because we're very lucky in the aspect here in Budapest that it's a 3-day city. Mm-hmm. So technically, every 3 day your clientele is replenished.
Yeah.
So it's not like back home where you have a regular clientele that come in 5 days a week and sort of get, are you going to do this place up or change something? So we're very lucky in that aspect that every 3 days our clientele, 60% of them anyway, is replenished all the time.
When you first opened, I don't know if you recall this, but I was also looking at opening a bar, right? And I think, well, you give me 2 pieces of advice. One is don't do it. But the second thing is, I said we were talking about location, which you mentioned earlier, how important it is. And I'd got this completely wrong because you said you want to be next door to your competitors. And you said if you can get closer to other bars, it's actually better than being the only bar in town in a way.
Yeah, because the closer you are to your competitors, you're going to feed off each other. Yeah. There's enough people there for everybody. And the more venues that there is in the area, the more people are going to come to that area.
Yeah.
Like the square we're on at the moment, it's going through quite some changes. There's 4 or 5 premises were empty 2 years ago, and now they're all full again. And you can actually see the increase in the volume of people coming to the square again. Even though they may not be coming to you, they're going to one of the other restaurants. Yeah. But you're hoping that when they come out of that restaurant and they're still a bit thirsty, that they're going to, let's pop into Beckett's for one.
Yeah.
And so you start feeding off each other.
Yeah.
And likewise, people that are, coming to Beckett's regularly and say, well, no, let's not eat here again. They just have to walk 20 meters across the road to another restaurant and try that.
And then come back.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, because I mean, when I have friends and, whatever come to the city, I always say, Beckett's is the local, that's where you should go and hang out. And it's a good place to start your night, pub crawl, whatever you want to call it, because you can watch the football, the atmosphere is not too loud, it does feel like home, you got the football and all the sports on TV. But the biggest game changer that I've seen in Beckett's is the nachos, right? Because I'd go and eat at Beckett's and the ribs were obviously brilliant and, there's a story behind that too. But when you did this nachos, I mean, they are some of the best things I've ever tasted, nacho-wise, ever.
They are quite popular, yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't shut up about it.
Yeah.
I think the visual aspect of those nachos is fantastic when you see it coming out and all that melted cheese, and then people are like, wow.
Yeah.
You can see people sitting at other tables, what's that? But we try and keep a diverse menu there. We try to please everybody, taste for everybody. We import Irish products from Ireland to keep most of those stag parties that come into town looking for their breakfasts. They want their bacon, sausage pudding. We import the crisp potato. You're not making much money on them, but it's a visual.
Yeah.
Wow, potato in Budapest. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the sausages and bacon is a big thing. They go mad for it. Bangers and mash and pies.
And you import it all, yeah?
The Irish products we import from Ireland, yeah. Okay. So,
which is still part of the EU, so it's
yeah. I mean, it's we found a great company that deliver it out to us, so it's fantastic. There's really not much you can't get now.
Yeah,
even here locally.
What is your most popular drink to order? Is it Guinness?
Guinness would be right up there. It would be a heads up between Guinness and the local beer Borsodi. After that, pretty much they're all even. Star Pramond, very popular. Stella. The cider, of course, is only in bottles at the moment, but we're trying to get it on draft. I think we have Lafay, Hogarden, and the new one is Kerrs, which is very popular with the Irish for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, Kerrs.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
There's that sponsorship gone.
my favourite would be, and I'm not a Guinness drinker, so I stick to the Borsodi. I quite like the Borsodi and the Star Pramond.
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's quite nice.
Very drinkable.
I'm a Heineken drinker myself, but the Coors is not a bad substitute. So
yeah,
what?
Yeah, I like Heineken.
No, Coors is
it's a good replacement.
It's
Heineken.
like, in the US,
like Bud Light.
Have you ever had like Coors Light, Bud Light though? It's like literally you can drink a 12-pack and
like water.
And not even get
Well, the Guinness is it's either firm first or firm second.
Yeah, and is that mainly tourists or expats?
No, I think everybody. I think both tourists and expats. I mean, anybody coming into an Irish pub, they go, "We got to try the Guinness." Yeah. Everybody has this thing that when they're abroad, they have to try the Guinness to see if it's the same as what they tasted in Ireland. And of course, they'll all say, "Oh no, it doesn't taste like the."
From an operational, strictly profit margin mindset, would you prefer they ordered? Because I mean, it takes time for a Guinness to settle, and it takes up space in the bar. And
well, anything imported is going to be more expensive. So the Guinness is quite expensive to import. Hence, the high price that it is to sell it. Ideally, you want them drinking your local beer. That's where your profit is.
Yeah.
You're not going to get high profit margins off of Guinness or Kilkenny because of the high cost of importing it in.
Yeah, but you have to have it for the brand.
Oh, you have to have it. You're not an Irish pub without Guinness.
Yeah, that's true.
Kilkenny, Magners, Tato. Yeah. You got to show your Irishness. You can't be just a plastic paddy bar that,
There's one of them in the city.
90% of them sort of pop up around the world, and not an Irishman to be seen in them, and not an Irish product to be seen in them. Yeah. So if you're going to do it, you got to go out of your way and source these products just to give it that Irishness,
that feel,
that uniqueness.
Yeah, I went to we were on a stag party. We came to your venue. They flew in a couple of months ago, a bachelor party for the American friends, and we ended up in another Irish bar in one of the evenings. They didn't have Guinness, they didn't have dark ale. They just had 2 Hungarian beers on draft. Guy didn't even speak English behind the bar, and I'm just like, goulash was the highlight of the menu. I'm just like, but it was, I won't say the name, but I think you probably guess which one it is. But yeah, it was strange. I think people a lot jumping on we're an Irish bar to try and trick the odd customer. Yeah. And it was extremely expensive.
Or a lot of people go to Ireland and they see the concept and they think, I'm going to do that back home.
It was like €8 a beer they paid us.
So.
Does every Irish bar have a kitchen? Or is that a decision point you had to
back
make?
home in Ireland now, most of the pubs are doing food because there's a good profit on the food in Ireland.
Okay.
And to survive, they have to do both now.
Yeah.
But I think the culture in Ireland changed 10 or 20 years ago, where it became acceptable to go out now and eat and drink in a pub. Mm-hmm. Whereas before the pub was just for drinking.
Yeah.
To mix the two then was quite a job.
Do you think that's down to the smoking ban? Because it was about this, no?
I'm not sure if it was down to the smoking ban. I'd say more or less the cost of it. Mm-hmm. You're cutting out taxi rides to restaurants backwards and forwards. Time element of it, because the pubs close at a certain time in Ireland. It's not like Europe where they're open all night. In Ireland, they close at 11. Mm-hmm. So the time element is there as well.
But also, I think you're seeing a higher quality of food too in the pubs.
Definitely. I mean, listen, there's Michelin star food going out in some of these pubs.
Because back in the day when I was at the bar every night, it was like mozzarella sticks and chicken wings, right? And that was like the extent of it.
No, now it's Michelin star quality. I mean, the good thing about it is you have all these competitions now between the pubs in Ireland. So you have the pub of the year and the best food and all this, and they're highly sought after awards because they do give your pub a boost in business.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot as well.
Is it worth it here though, or is it just
here? No, because I think the culture here is still when you go out, you want to go to a restaurant. Mm-hmm. So the Hungarians are still sort of, I won't say snobby or anything like that, but they're geared to go to a restaurant. If we're going out to eat, we're going to a restaurant. You know, I think
from my experience here, like especially with the young, because you know I still play football and there's a lot of younger guys there, and they go and drink at home, and that's very much the culture in Hungary, and I think also in neighboring countries where it's expensive to go to a bar.
Yeah.
We'll all meet at someone's apartment. We'll drink, and then maybe we go to a nightclub and have one or two. So when you go out for food. But we're in the UK. I mean, I wouldn't say, hey, you know, Declan, me and Chris are coming around to drink beers at yours at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, your family would kill you. You know.
No, you're in the pub at 6 p.m.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it's a completely different culture.
Yeah. I mean, we go to the pubs earlier than the Hungarians. The Hungarians think nothing about going out at 10 o'clock to a pub, whereas we're in the pub by 6 o'clock. But then again, we have the closure time, whereas the Hungarians don't, because most of the city is 24 hour.
Yeah.
So they'll always find.
And
somewhere.
you're open late. I mean, till 2, 3.
We open only at the weekends till 2 in the morning on Fridays and Saturday, 1 o'clock on Thursday, and every other night midnight.
And you're full.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, well, okay.
I mean, Saturday, the Friday and Saturday is dependent because unfortunately, there's a nighttime closure order on the terraces in the area, so you have to have your terrace closed by midnight. So during the summer, that sort of goes against you because once your terrace closes, the atmosphere is gone and people move on to the next place. Ideally, I wouldn't cry at the fact if the government brought in a set closure time for everybody, you know, be it 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I do feel for the residents of Budapest, the city centre, that have to put up with an all-night sort of party scene.
Yeah.
But if there was a fair playing field that everywhere had to close at 12 o'clock, and then you create your outside the city areas where you'll have nightclubs that these people can go to.
It used to be like that, though, on
the
island.
Yeah. The Hajógyári Sziged, when that was going, it was out of the way. It was away from the public. But you got to keep it fair. You know, the government can make money off selling the late licenses to these places, these nightclubs. But I think in the city centre, you don't need people drinking at 3, 4 in the morning and falling over to McDonald's or wherever at 4
6,
or 5.
waking you up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I mean,
singing in the street.
Bad enough the bin men and you know, local workers or building workers waking you at 6 a.m. drunken students falling all over the place.
I think that's a problem everywhere, though, to be honest. Probably more so in the UK and Ireland, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so what would you say is the biggest frustration you have in the industry that most people don't think about?
The biggest frustration? Wow. Finding staff is one. It's very frustrating. Finding loyalty in staff, as you said earlier, where Levy had the same problem that staff just come and then the next day they'll just leave, or they won't even come and don't even call you. You know, I always try and explain to them, listen, if you don't like this job, you don't want to come tomorrow, just please give me a phone call and say it over the phone and we'll be done. You know, don't just leave and don't tell us. That would be one of the major frustrations is the staffing element. Bureaucracy, I suppose, you know, every city has it. It's still there. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm not going to badmouth, you know, Hungarian bureaucracy because Irish bureaucracy is just as bad.
Yeah. And on the staffing side, do you think that's down to they don't want to work hours? It's down to salary. It's not for them. Mix.
I think a lot of it is down to how hard the job is, the length of hours that they have to work. I think that's what gets them, especially the new younger generation. They're just not into working 8 to 10 hours a day anymore.
Yeah. So maybe a split shift would be the future.
I'm not sure if a split shift works for people because you're still sort of working. You know, even though you get 3 hours or 4 hours off in the afternoon, there's nothing you can do on those. You'll either go home and sleep or you'll just walk around the city and then go back to work. So it's sort of an extended day. Yeah. I don't know what the way is around it. Because certainly businesses can't afford to double their staff just to placate the new generation that only want to work 4 hours, you know.
But your normal work day is 8 to 10 hours? I mean, so that's a normal, technically.
8 hours, maximum 10,
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just harder work than sitting behind a desk. So.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you get guys, this isn't for me, you know, I thought it was a tea house or, you know, coffee bar be more suited to me. And I see where they're coming from. If that's what they want, okay, go there, work there. Don't come here because that's not what we're about. I mean, you got to understand, they'll spend most of the time in Beckett's not doing anything because you have sort of, you know, your times where you're going to be busy. You could be standing around all day just, you know, wiping pictures or cleaning glasses, waiting on customers to come in. But then for 4 hours, you get hammered.
Yeah.
Which is sort of harder because your body's relaxed and you're sort of, you know, going about your day and you get tired when there's not much business around. Then boom, all of a sudden, oh God, I got to reset the body now to pump it out.
It's not an easy job.
No. So, you know, as I said, out of 100, you find one gem that's capable of doing it.
Yep.
And then you got to hang on to her.
And like set aside weekends, obviously, is there a certain day of the week that you're pretty empty or is it kind of just sporadic?
You'll always figure out your sort of busy days and your quiet days. Monday and Tuesday, of course, after the weekend are your quiet days, unless you have a bit of soccer on Tuesday night Champions League or something like that. But
do you do any promotions or anything like trivia night or anything on those slower evenings?
No, we've tried a lot of things. We've tried comedy nights. We've tried quiz nights. Sometimes, you know, you just got to say, this is a quiet night and just accept it, you know. I mean, you can get a comedy night in there and make no money off it because people are sitting watching the comedy. So you're basically just putting bums on seats to look good.
And on the, like, you know, you said Monday and Tuesday are quiet. Have you thought about closing those nights? Are they still profitable nights or loss leaders?
An Irish bar should never close.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, should be open every day.
I mean, and even at the risk of losing money that day.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's therapy.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
Because there's always that one customer there that coming to your door, knock, knock, what the hell, it's closed.
Yeah. And you never see them again.
He won't come back again, because...
Yeah. And if that one customer did come in and he was your only customer, he'll come back.
But you've got to think, imagine tourists coming all the way to Hungary and then, you know, come to your bar because they've heard so much about it and then they get there and it's closed. And it's like, oh shit, we're flying out tonight. They never get to see your bar.
Yeah.
So there's lost revenue, there's lost friendship, and there's lost word of mouth.
Yeah, reputation's a big one. Yeah. So coming, like, sticking kind of with the, you know, losing money or loss leading and profit margins. How do you, because one of the things we found in our research is a lot of bars and restaurants, they don't keep track of inventory, they don't keep track of profit margins on dishes, cost of living's going up, pricing of costs of products is going up. How do you do that yourself? Do you have a software? Do you do an Excel, paper?
We do our regular stock takes, You've got to watch everything. You've got to teach your staff that, you know, the breakage and stuff. One, it's not their stuff that they're breaking, it belongs to somebody. But mentally, because we get a lot of our glasses provided by the brewery, so the staff think, well, they're free, so why are you giving out about it? We still have to, you know, get them from the brewery who don't like constantly giving you new glasses if the staff are going to be constantly dropping them. So, and you're just teaching them respect for the premises, not just for the glasses, but respect for everything in the pub, the furniture, the fixtures, the fittings, the plates, the knives, the forks. And there is times there that I'll let her order too. Where the hell are all the knives and forks? You know, you're asking me to buy more, and you're like, they're made of metal.
Yeah.
What are you doing with them? You know, and they just shrug their shoulders. You know, people are stealing them.
Is that a thing? If losing knives and forks?
You'll
Glasses, I understand.
you'll always lose bits and bobs to students. You know, who have moved into apartments. Oh, I need a salt and pepper, and you know.
Actually, I never thought of that.
yeah, fair one. Yeah,
you know, there's people there that'll take anything: toilet rolls, light bulbs.
Well,
everything.
I mean, we had a poster in your bar, and they were taking them.
They were taking everything. Yeah, all the posters got taken.
Yeah,
you'd wonder at the end of the night, what are they doing? You know, they're going home and sticking it on their walls. Yeah, as a trophy.
Just ask, you can have one.
They take everything. If it's not stuck down, they'll take it. There's always somebody to take something.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay, cool. And like when you're building out your menu and things like this, and obviously, you know, there's ways you can design a menu, and you know, some things have higher margins than others. How do you? Do you have a process for that, or do you just kind of these dishes are sell, put it on a page?
Well, normally you sort of have to read your clientele. So I've got to look at the clientele that I have, who I'm playing to. So I get a lot of sporting clientele, so people that come looking for rugby, for matches and stuff like that. Now, predominantly they'll be male. Mm-hmm. Now, males don't want to sit down and eat goose liver and fancy mushrooms and this, that, and the other. Just want a quick burger with their dinner.
Yeah.
So you got to gear towards, okay, 90% of the sporting clientele are male. So what do males want with their beer? Beef and Guinness pie, or a burger, or you know, wedge or tortilla nachos.
Yeah.
So you're gearing towards that, but then you've got to think of your female clientele and put lighter stuff on for them, because they don't like the big heavy meals. So you sort of say, okay, what do we put on for them? A few salads or a few lighter dishes, the chicken goujons and stuff like that. And then you got to think of your tourist clientele who are coming into town. Now, luckily, with the British and Irish tourists, when they're abroad, they tend to look for
the same stuff,
British and Irish food. So you gear towards that. So your fish and chips comes a big player. Probably one of our biggest sellers
really
is the fish and chips. And you're like, you find it strange because we're in a landlocked country, but they still go mad for it. It's the most popular dish we have at the moment, fish and chips.
You know, I've never had it.
Yeah.
I just ordering fish in a landlocked
fish
country.
Fish and chips and the burgers. So when you see that as your main sort of seller, you know the type of people you're dealing with. They're not there for fancy dinners. They're just there for a few beers and to fill that hole. You know, I'll have a burger.
Your breakfast sandwich or whatever it is.
The breakfast roll, yeah. That went well for a while. It got a 2 or 3 week buzz because we brought it out on the back of, it was very popular back in Ireland. The Irish breakfast roll, they made a song about it. There was a famous Irish comedian made a song about the Irish breakfast roll.
Okay.
And, of course, every Irish countryman wanted an Irish breakfast roll.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Every garage in Ireland, you can get one. So on the back of that, we tried it, and it went well for a while, but then it died out, and we took it off the menu then.
Oh, I never got a chance to try it.
That's awesome.
So you change the menu quite often.
Yeah, we got to keep up with the trends and keep up with the changing clientele, over the years. You'll always find you got to read your customers what kind of food they want. So your single guy coming in doesn't want the full fancy Michelin star meal. He just wants a burger and a beer.
Yeah. Are you doing any kind of like corned beef or anything?
No. Corned beef we don't do. It's very difficult to find proper butchers over here that'll cut the meat the way you want it or spice it the way you want it or do anything like that. And then to find the chef that's capable of cooking it the way you need it isn't easy either, because chefs can be quite temperamental and set in their ways. They don't like you coming in telling them how to do it. But yeah, you're looking at your clientele, your female clientele. What can we put on for them? Your tourists coming in, what can we appeal to them with? And then, of course, your local crowd who are coming in to watch the rugby and the football and so on and so forth. You got to appeal to them. So you're constantly looking to change. And then, of course, your seasons. Yeah. So you got to have, your winter sort of gets heavier, and then your summer you take a few things off that you don't think are going to go.
Because my wife was upset with you for taking off. You did pasta for a while.
We did, yeah. I mean, I quite like a pasta dish because I think it's appealing to everybody. You know, everybody safe with a pasta. Maybe in the winter we'll put it back on because it's.
Well, she'll come back. That she's not coming anymore.
We used to have a lovely Beckett's pasta, and there was mince meat and everything, and it was fantastic. So yeah, I might do that again in the winter, and then of course put the goulash back on for the winter because it doesn't go so well in the summer. Few other trends that I've been looking at back home. There's a new trend of a thing called a spice bag.
Okay.
That I'm going to try and delve into. Spice bags are basically the chippers back home created this dish that, you know, everybody went crazy for. It's basically bell peppers, onions, breaded chicken, chips, all in a bag with Chinese 5 spices. And then you have the option of putting curry sauce and grated cheese into it. Basically put it in a bag, give it a little shake and put it on a plate and serve it in the bag.
I can see yourself in a TikTok video doing that, Declan.
Yeah.
But it sounds great.
So I'm definitely gonna try it. You know, we'll put it on a special to start with and just see how it goes. Because a lot of these trends, you know, like we did with the breakfast roll, they can come and go very quickly.
Yeah.
So you don't want something sitting on your menu that's.
But it's also good to freshen up for your regulars.
It's good to freshen up for the regulars. Yeah, you've also got to think of the kitchen, how easy it is for them to get it out. You know, because if you get 400 people in, all which on match nights you're capable of doing, and they all come at the same time and they all want to eat at the same time, you can overload the kitchen. So you want easy kind of food to come out that's not going to take 20 minutes to make.
Yeah. And you have a lot of overlap, like from an inventory wise. So like fries or chicken breast or whatever. So a lot of your menu is an overlap. So it just
so you're looking at the likes of the onions and bell peppers are very easy. You chop up a pot of them for the week, you know, and put it in the refrigerator. You're using the chips every day. You're using the breaded chicken in the goujons. So it's not a very hard thing for the kitchen to do, even though they'll try and make out that it's a very hard thing. Yeah. Well, I definitely want to try it.
Well, I mean, the formula you've got is obviously working because Beckett is one of the go-tos for tourists, locals, but also quite a lot of celebrities.
Yeah. We've over the years we've had quite a few. I know in the old Beckett's, it started there probably back in the early 90s when we went through a slew of celebrities. I think that's when Budapest started sort of making its name on the movie scene as a place to do movies. Started with Evita. The movie Evita with Madonna. And I had Alan Parker and Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber sitting at the bar eating beef and Guinness.
Wow.
Got a lovely photo of that. And Jonathan Pryce and the crew were in. They actually used sort of Beckett's as a makeup studio while they were doing the opening scene. Because the opening scene in Evita is the funeral procession in Argentina, which is actually the street outside Beckett's.
I didn't know that.
In Budapest.
I didn't even know it was filmed in Budapest.
Yeah. Alcott Man Street. So when you look at that opening scene, that whole procession is Budapest. And it was fantastic to see, you know, a production of that size, a Hollywood movie of that size in Budapest at that time. You know, that they could turn this little street in Budapest into a street in Argentina where lampposts became palm trees and there's tanks coming up the road and soldiers and horses and everything. It was fantastically done.
It's second nature now.
And then it just snowballed from there. You know, we've had Ben Chaplin, we've had the kid from Billy Elliot. I can't think of his name. Jamie, yeah. And then we had that jarhead actor, what's his name? The stripper movie.
The stripper?
Oh my God.
Okay.
The girls went mad from the night.
Oh, I know who you mean now, yeah. Yeah, okay. Chris looks out.
I'm not sure what genre you guys are paying attention to.
Come on. He's talking about a male stripper. You must know.
He done that movie with, I think
Not Chad. Is it Chad? No.
It's some silly American name. Yeah, like that.
I'm going to have to Google this because it's gonna wreck our heads.
Oh, he did 21 Jump Street.
Magic Mike was the.
That's right.
Oh, Tatum.
Tatum.
Yeah. So I knew him.
Tatum. Yeah.
He's into these.
When Tatum came in,
dance
my
movies.
God, we were nearly beating the women away with brushes.
Yeah.
Over the years we've had a fantastic lineup of actors. Brendan Gleeson, another famous Irish actor, and even in the new place now, Budapest seems to be the new Netflix base of the world. We've had the crew from, I think it was Robin Hood, was done out here, the series. So we had all them in. I think at the moment FBI is being done here. We get a lot of their crew in. And then any major movie sort of setup, always find their way into Beckett's.
Yeah, but it's funny how anywhere you go, you're searching out the Irish pubs.
Yeah.
Because you can be in Hong Kong, you can be in all these different places around the world, and it's like Irish pub.
I think they're drawn to us because when they come to us, they're sort of treated as normal people. So nobody goes rushing up to them. Can I take a picture? Can I do this? People just leave them alone because in Ireland, the Irish are very well known in Ireland. We don't chase after people. Bono could walk into a pub and people, Bono, who cares?
Yeah.
To us, as my mother always said, excuse the French, she says, listen, son, they piss, fart and shit like the rest of us. So they're nothing special.
I'm clipping that.
And that's the way we look at them. We're not awestruck, running at.
So if you were going your top three in terms of fame, who would be the top three visited Beckett's?
Ooh. I say you'd have to put Russell Crowe at the top. He was wonderful when he came in, a gentleman. Probably Brendan Gleeson, a true gent. Very down to earth. Didn't mind mixing with the clientele, watching a rugby game in Ireland. Third would probably, I'm trying to think back now. I mean, Tatum and Ben Chaplin, when they were in, they were very down to earth. At the time they were big movie stars. You could say Jason Momoa because he's a face of the moment. Yeah, it's very difficult, but I'd say those two would be top. Russell Crowe and Brendan Gleeson.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you've had sports teams come in as well, from what I remember.
Yeah, we've catered to the likes of Manchester United over the years, Liverpool when they were in town. We had the fans of Sevilla and Real Betis, and when I mean crowds, you're talking the whole square just taken over by their fans.
Yeah,
we've had Millwall in the past who created a lot of carnage for us.
Yeah.
Real Betis, I think it was Real Betis. It was either Real Betis or Sevilla.
Sevilla, I think it was.
And it was fantastic because the whole ownership of the club came in.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was Sevilla or it could have been both times. Yeah. But when they arrived, it was like the parting of the Red Sea. The fans just literally were bound down to these people as they walked through. But again, as soon as they got into the atmosphere of the pub, they let their hair down. They were dancing, singing, buying rounds of drink for all their fans.
Wow.
It was fantastic to see, because these are like, when you watch the football and you see the row of Godfathers, up in the box, and here they are mixing with their own fans.
Great to see.
It was wonderful to see.
Yeah. I was traveling and I remember seeing the pictures of Beckett's just floating on social media because obviously I follow football a lot. And I knew, Real Betis were in town, I think it was, or Sevilla. I can't remember. I'll put some pictures up. But I was like, oh, that's Beckett's. It was on it was everywhere.
Yeah.
But like in football channels, like, party in Budapest, great atmosphere, and these fans, I'm just like, everything was around Beckett's. So
there was we've had Celtic twice as well. I mean, the Celtic fans speak for themselves. I mean, they'll empty your bar in a good party night. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic when they go anywhere. One of the most memorable fan bases for me was Liverpool, actually.
Yeah.
excuse me, when the Liverpool guys were in town. And I'll never forget it because I had to put up with them singing one song for, I would say, at least a half an hour.
Okay.
Repetitive, same song.
Can you remember the song?
Steven Gerrard is our captain.
Okay, yeah.
So it went like Steven Gerrard is
Yeah.
a captain. Steven Gerrard is a red.
Yeah,
Steven
yeah.
Gerrard comes from Liverpool. Scouts are born and bred.
Oh, Jesus.
Na, na, na,
That's an
na,
old
na,
one,
na,
yeah.
na, na. Now that went on repetitive, and they were doing the can. So they were in a line all around the pub, holding each other, kicking their legs out, going around the pub for literally a half an hour. And every time when I thought it was just about to stop, they'd go again.
Yeah.
So that was quite memorable, and that one's actually still up on YouTube, I think. But it's
I'll have to
it's a
dig it out.
fantastic watch.
Yeah.
You know, just and they were getting off on the fact that I thought, right, that's it.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, we're going again. So they were fantastic. But we've been very lucky with the football fans that have come out to support their teams. They seem to respect, they've shown a lot of respect to us anyway in the pub. I know a lot of places around Europe, you know, you get a lot of trouble with football fans, but we've been very lucky. And especially with the diverse clientele or different teams that we've catered to, you know, the Spanish sides, the English sides, there was one very famous day in the old pub when I thought Armageddon was going to break out. It was, I had Celtic fans in that day who were travelling to play, I think, a match here. And then all of a sudden, Dynamo Zagreb fans decided to turn up. They were after being kicked out of Russia. I think they were playing a match up there, but their fans were kicked out and decided to come and pay us a visit. And then on top of that, a third team decides to come in, which was the Frodi fans.
Yeah.
The local Hungarian side. So I had 3 different fan bases in the pub that day, and all with their different flags around the pub. And I was like, oh my God, this is like,
It's going to
this
kick
is
off.
like a grenade in my hand, you know, when is it going to explode? And I was amazed to see how they all gelled together and the camaraderie that they built up. They start singing songs. So one base would sing their song, which would entice the other club to sing their song. And then, so you had 3 different clubs singing 3 different, you know, songs. It was fantastic.
Beautiful moment.
And went off without a hitch. The only problem I had one time was way back in the day, back in the 90s, when Millwall decided to visit Hungary and actually caused a lot of mayhem in the pub that night between themselves.
Okay.
You know, they didn't even need help. It was between themselves. And we got a lot of TV coverage that night from Sky News and everybody.
Wow.
You know, I had people ringing up. Because that week, I think a few people had been stabbed around the city.
Oh, Jesus.
And, of course, then when we hit Sky News that night, everybody thought it was in Beckett's that all this carnage was happening. And then people ring, oh, I saw the pub on TV. Oh. Yeah. But the way I look at it, any news is you know, any publicity is good publicity.
So just to close out, there's obviously some great memories you've had with Beckett over the time, but what is the greatest memory you have
Hoo-ha, the greatest memory.
in the bar?
That's a hard one. I would say probably the day we closed and the day we opened. Those 2 days.
Yeah.
Because I remember making a speech that night that, you know, I sort of used another Liverpool sort of slogan, you know, the Phoenix.
Yeah.
That the Phoenix would rise once again from the ashes. You know, watch this space. That was, you know, a sad moment, but also a proud moment of the 20 years that we had just put in and you know, the people that we had met. And then the reopening of the pub was probably one of the proudest moments because how hard it was that year that I had gone through. And that we had finally got it open again, that we were up and going again. It was a great relief and a great moment of pride because I never gave up on the dream of getting it open again. I didn't think it was done. I thought the story's not over yet. You know, we got to keep this going.
Yeah. And what's next for Beckett's?
Hopefully another 30 years, you know. two sons there that can take over for me and keep it going. I don't know. Just keeping people happy as long as I can, you know. Time is your biggest enemy. So I'll keep doing it as long as I can, you know, and whoever else comes after that, hopefully they'll keep doing it.
Awesome.
But I think, you know, the storybook's not over.
Yeah.
You know, keep it going. Budapest is still growing. It's a phenomenal city. It's constantly changing, evolving. And we've been very lucky to evolve with it. So, yeah, to many more years.
Awesome. Well, all your social links are down below on the pinned comment. So, Declan, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, boys.
Cheers.
Been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks very much.
Meet Declan, the face behind one of Europe's oldest and most iconic Irish bars. Dealing with eviction scandals and connections to the IRA, Declan somehow managed to pull off one of the greatest comebacks in the industry. A comeback so great even Hollywood superstars visit him. Declan didn't just pour pints. No, he took his passion, mixed it with sheer grit, and built a brand so strong, it's practically untouchable. Declan isn't just running a bar, he's running a movement. Meet Declan, the face behind one of Europe's oldest and most iconic Irish bars. Dealing with eviction scandals and connections to the IRA, Declan somehow managed to pull off one of the greatest comebacks in the industry. A comeback so great even Hollywood superstars visit him. Declan didn't just pour pints. No, he took his passion, mixed it with sheer grit, and built a brand so strong, it's practically untouchable. Declan isn't just running a bar, he's running a movement.